Hello and welcome to Crypto Invest TV. Though we are not financial advisors, we will give the viewers our personal thoughts to lead them through what we think crypto's future holds. Any information that is incorrect or inaccurate, please let us know, as we want to have an open community that everyone can enjoy with accurate information to go on. And with that being said, today we will be discussing XRP, should you invest, and what appears as Dogecoin's comeback. So I would say earlier this morning we saw it go back up over $1, and so it's been the top topic for a lot of streamers, for a lot of YouTube channels, um, all different types of streaming, the news, and so for those of you that don't know, today they're going to be, or today they will. I think today was the first hearing for their lawsuit, and so a lot of people are really excited as to what a lot of people are wondering what's going to be happening with that, with the SEC hearing. And so that's essentially what's bumping up the price right now, right? What's bumping up the price right now, that's having it all the way over here at now $1.10, $1.11. The whole reason why this is happening is the anticipation of what's going to happen with the SEC. And so here's how you have to look at it, right? We have a tremendous straight line right here from basically the days leading up to this hearing. And so I want you to understand that the difference between this and some of the other ones is that with it sitting right here, it's been staying pretty sideways for a while, and it didn't even get any kind of real pickup like you see right here up until the end of last month. And so you have to understand that a lot of this price right now is being driven because of there being that hearing. And so you have to understand that when it comes to this particular crypto right now, when it comes to XRP, Ripple, it can go in one of two ways, right? So this could end up being a good thing for them in a way to where like they just end up settling, and they basically resolve their problem and let it alone, right? And just try and essentially get away from this issue and continue moving forward with their goals and their project. And so it can go that way, which would be preferable, right? We would prefer that everyone would be able to continue holding XRP for the people that are really invested into this crypto. But on the other end of that, if things go bad for XRP, it could be a death sentence. And if XRP gets fully delisted, that's it. It's gone. And so that is a possibility. So as as this number is climbing and people are investing, you really should be wary about that fact, because this isn't going to probably be over until maybe May, maybe the beginning of June. I'm not sure. It just depends on how the proceedings follow. And so as this number keeps going up and we keep seeing this movement, which is great for the crypto itself, don't get me wrong, this is fantastic. I mean, who wouldn't like to have bought in back when it was at 39 cents and right now it's at $1.11? I mean, obviously those are great gains. I'm just saying that you have to be conscious of the fact that with what's going on with them because of what happened back in like 2017, 2018. You have to realize that if it goes really negative for them, that it could hurt a lot of people financially. And so you have to make sure that you're paying attention to that fact before you just go ahead and FOMO into this and start investing because, oh my God, it hit $1 and, I don't want to miss the ride because it's XRP is going to go to, what was it, $589. That's going to be dependent on what happens, right? So if XRP gets the death sentence because of whatever had happened in the past, do you think it's going to go to 159? No, it's not, because it's not going to be around anymore. They would have been effectively shut down. And, with that, we won't see that. So a lot of people are getting really excited and they're jumping into this like crazy. And you have to realize that, you know, uh, this could be, a bad investment down the road based on what happens with the proceedings. So, um, you know, all I can say is invest wisely when it comes to XRP. Um, just like you should with any of anything that you're investing in, whether it's crypto, real estate, stocks. You should always make sure that you do your due research on whatever it is that you're planning to invest in before you do, because the last thing you want to do is end up hurting yourself, right? So you FOMO into XRP, and then let's say unfortunately something really bad happens and they end up being just taken off. XRP Ripple is gone, right? If that ends up happening, and all those people that FOMO'd into it, they're going to be hurting really bad. It's just like if you were to do it with a stock, right? You go into a stock because like AMC or GME, right? When those stocks started to soar, and there's people that bought it when it was at like $300-400 a stock, for GME specifically. And, some of those people are really hurting right now because they FOMO'd into something that they didn't even research. They just heard that it's going to the moon, and they probably thought, oh yeah, it's going to go to $1,000 or $2,000. It's just going to keep going up and up and up, and I'm going to be rich tomorrow, and I don't have to work anymore, and all these great things. And then the price starts going down. Why? Because there was there was no there was no achievement within GameStop that made that price happen. Nothing GameStop did made that price go up, right? It didn't shoot up from, what was it, like somewhere between like 15 and $25 or something like that. It didn't just spike up from that price all the way to like 287 and then 300 and then 400. Like it didn't. There, it didn't do anything to achieve that. They didn't open any stores. They didn't have like some kind of new product that was going to be exclusive to GameStop that was like revolutionary or that people were just chomping at the bits to get. There was nothing going on within the company to say why the stock's going up, and that's why those people ended up getting hurt. So all these people that are seeing XRP or some of these other cryptos that are just exploding right now, and they're buying it at the top of the market, a month from now, when everything starts to consolidate itself and everything starts to, basically try and, make there be a reason as to why it should be this price, a lot of those people, they're going to hurt. Because let's say all this goes good and it goes up to, let's say it gets up to like $2.50, right? Because everything's been going so well, and they don't get the death penalty, right? And then it goes to consolidate. Well, think about all those people that got in like at the $2 to $2.50 mark, and then it ends up consolidating itself at like $1.50, right? A lot of those people are going to freak out because they're like, oh no, I bought like 3,000 XRP at $2.15, and now it's at $1.50. I've lost so much money. Well, it's just like, to the people that does happen to, think about your investments, right? So before you even FOMO into anything, what is it that you can afford to lose, right? How much money can you afford to lose in this very moment, and life will be able to go on? And that's the number that you focus on, that's how you invest, right? You don't ever sit there and bet the house on something, right? Don't bet the house on any crypto or stock or any other type of investment. irregardless of your research, just because you don't want to put all your chips in the pot, and then if something does go wrong, now you're screwed, right? So you always want to make sure that you only invest what it is that you're not worried about losing. And I'm not talking about what it is that you see in your investments, right? So if you invest in something and then it has a decent amount of gain, and let's say you put $30 into something and then it got to $150, that don't consider that to be a part of what it is that you can lose anymore. You already lost it, right? That's how you need it. That's how you have to look at it towards yourself. You've already lost that money, right? You're just kind of looking at the money that you used to have, right? Because it's only going to be yours again once you pull it back out, right? Even though we're talking about cryptos, I'm just talking about, like, hypothetically in this example, it's, we're just pretend that the money doesn't exist for you anymore, right? That's how you have to look at your investments, right? So that way you can look at them more objectively, because if you look at your investments emotionally, that's how you can end up making very big mistakes. Um, that's why the whole reference of FOMOing into something is it has become such a widely used word, is because it's happening so much. And so you have to realize that um, you don't want to lose anything that you can't afford to lose. So you're not going to sit there and bet the house. You're not going to bet the car. You're not going to put all the life savings into something, right? It's just not a logical approach. So take whatever it is that you could have a care less in the world, whether that be $100, $1,000, $10, whatever it is that you are comfortable with. That's what you should initially invest with, right? That's what you initially invest yourself with. That's not to say you can't go and take risks, but take those risks based on your own decisions, right? But just because you see something FOMOing it, just because you see something exploding and everyone else is FOMOing it and everyone else is saying how great it is, um, just pay attention to what you're doing, so that way you don't you marginalize your risk. And so, if all you can afford is, like, or let's just say that you're somebody that's the everyday working Joe, right? You don't have the best job, but it's enough to make ends meet. So you don't really have a lot of leftover money. Well, think about it like this: how often do you go and eat out, right? And then how much does it cost every time that you go to eat out? And I'm not even talking about special occasions. I'm talking about, like, just any kind of fast food place that you would normally go to just to get a quick bite. I'm not talking about a sit down restaurant. And let's just say, the average is about $10, $15, right? So let's say that instead of you going and spending that $10, $15 on some fast food, knowing that you have some food at home that you could eat, well, take that money and then go and invest it into something that you feel comfortable with, that you feel that you have a lot of conviction in, something that you feel really strong, like it will do well, not just because you personally feel that way, but because you've kind of looked into it at least a little bit, right? And that's how you start, is that first investment, right? That first small investment. And then if the investment goes, if your $10 starts to go down, and usually the case is that the second that you put any money in, normally you're going to see it initially go down. So that would be nothing to worry about to begin with, because it's, if you put $10 in and then immediately it shows, it shows like $9.75. Like, don't worry about that. That's just because of where the price that you bought in between the price that it was in the current moment. And so just don't worry about those little things. But so, like, the next day, let's say it goes up a little bit, right? So then you're like, oh, that's cool. I went from $10 to like $10.10 or something, right? So it's just, the more you get yourself involved about it, the more knowledgeable you'll become, because the more that you invest, the more that you become personally invested into what it is that you're doing, the more you're going to seek out knowledge to solidify what it is that you're doing. The more that you're going to be searching for answers to make sure that you're making the right decisions with what you're doing, right? And so what you have to do is you have to, just stay diligent, pay attention to what you're doing, and move forward from there, and just keep little by little learning more and more. And as you sit here and you start to understand the market more, understand your form of investments more, the more that you begin to understand the markets of what it is that you're doing, then the better you'll be able to make the decisions on what it is that you're wanting to invest in. And so that's how you start that little domino effect of what you're doing. Is you start with something small. You started off with that $10 or that $15 or whatever it is that you started off with that you were comfortable with it evaporating tomorrow if it did, right? And then 2 months later, you're looking and you're just like, wow, I have like $300 that I've been investing in the just like over the past couple of months. And this is just to say, like, you're only able to invest like really small amounts in random periodic times, for the people that really are, finite with their money. Like they only can do so much within a certain period of time, because they have to maintain their bills, and any foul decision that they make with too large of a purchase could end up damaging them at the beginning of the next month or at the end of the next month or whatever, right? And so you look at it and they're surprised at how some of their investments have grown and some of them have fallen. Sometimes they'll see that, like, oh, my investment hasn't grown by much, but then they look and then they'll see, oh, well, like this is down by a whole bunch and that's up by a whole bunch, and I can. So if all of these were actually up at the same amount, I would actually have this much. And then, like, you see like how it starts to spin the wheels, how it starts to get those gears going, and you start to have to build your own different thought process about how you handle your own money, because it's not you're you're not you're not poor because of any other reason other than you don't have the tools that you need in that moment, right? And sometimes getting the tools that you need is a difficult thing. Sometimes getting the tools that you would need requires money, right? Just like investing. And so it can become a very difficult thing to have to try and figure out how can you make your life or you and your family's life better without essentially working yourself to the bone, because you have multiple options, right? So you got your job, everything's going okay, you can meet the bills, but you're like, I really want to make extra money to get ahead, and so you decide to go and pick up like a part-time job, for example, or you decide to go and pick up like a part-time hustle, right? You're gonna go and, like, a store that said that they'll let you wash their windows every week for like you know $40, right? And so you go and you wash their windows every week for $40, and so every that's $160 extra dollars a month then, right? But anyway, so those are your options, right? You can go out and either work more to try and make extra to get ahead, or find some other tool to help you achieve the same thing. And so, let's say your birthday comes around, right? Family gives your family gives you some money, right? And irregardless of what the amount is, let's say you do have you intended to use that money to pay some bills, and then that way you would be relaxed on some of your spending, right? But maybe instead of doing it that exact way, maybe put a portion of that towards paying your bills, and then take that other portion that basically was free money, and then go and invest it into something that you have a high conviction in, right? And then that way you can sit there and you can build your investments, you can build your portfolio, and every day of having a job where, like, you have to go out and do XYZ for XYZ amount of hours, and then go home and then do it all over again. So we all know about the grind and how it can kind of put you into that one track state, right? To where you're going in one direction, and like you're so focused on just making sure that you do everything that you currently have on your plate that you're not really focusing on your outside world. And so then, like, one day you end up looking up and then you're like, oh wow, I can't believe it's been like I can't believe it's Christmas, right? Or something like that. Like, so much time has passed by within what feels like a short period of time, because you've had your head down trying to do what it is that you need to do to achieve what it is that you're trying to achieve. And so the same thing that happens with time just passing by, the same thing can happen with your investments. So the more that while you're having your head down and you throw in that $10 here and you throw in that 15 there and you throw it here and there and there and so on and so forth, and you still have your head down, and then you look up and it's Christmas, and so you got a couple days off, right? So now you're kind of getting out of that grind thought process, and now you're getting into the relax, enjoy family time process for the couple of days that you have off for Christmas, just as an example. And then you start looking at things more often. You have more downtime, right? And so then you look and you're like, oh wow, I can't believe my investments are like that. I mean, I remember just 6 months ago I only had like $20 in here, and now I'm looking and I got like almost 3,000, right? And that's like saying, as a combination of it, of your of having at least relatively steady gains on top of adding income in. If everything was falling and you were adding in, then you might not be seeing as much. But irregardless, that's what ends up happening. And so you know it's the best way. Investing is, I would say, is like the best way to save yourself for unexpected emergencies, right? So let's say you had all that money that's invested in, as terrible as it would be, right? As terrible as it would be, let's say that you have to pull a really healthy chunk out, right? So when it comes to pulling out that healthy chunk, first thing that you should do, if you ever end up in an event where you have to pull out your investments for some kind of external emergency, like your car's broke down and you most certainly have no means of being able to make the extra money to be able to pay for it, and you do need it fixed as soon as possible so that way you can continue working, and so you have to bite that bullet and pull out some of your investments. The first thing that you're going to want to do is pull out the investments that you have the least conviction in. So that means pull out the investments that you are the least confident in having substantial gains over time, right? So you're like, oh well, let's see, let's say BitTorrent, right? Let's say that you're invested in BitTorrent. You're like, I'm not that committed into BitTorrent, but I'm really committed into Dogecoin, or I'm really committed into XRP, or Cardano, whichever you prefer to say. And then you choose what it is that that you would prefer to lose first, and then you cycle through them until you've reached the goal that you need for your emergency without letting go of things that you truly want to keep. And then that's how you can essentially set yourself up to help yourself out when it comes to extenuating circumstances, so that way you can protect yourself from any problems that you have down the road. Because a lot of people, they don't have any type of anything, nothing at all, no savings, no nothing, no form of any kind of asset that they can use to help themselves in the event of any type of financial emergency, whether that's an whether that's an accident, whether that's a loss of job, whether that's a medical emergency. No one generally, and that's to say for the people that specifically have no form of health insurance, right? Because that's going to be billed directly to them. But even then, I mean, depending on what the emergency is, even with health insurance taking care of it, you could still end up with a very substantial bill, and it still can make your life more difficult than what it needs to be. And so if you have things invested, if you have assets that you can use, then you can protect yourself from future problems without having to make any extreme sacrifices, right? Because the last thing that you want to do is have to make some kind of extreme sacrifice in order to continue. And so investing is one of the best ways that you can do it. You could try the whole like, all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and just put $10 in an envelope every week that I get paid, or whatever, or $20 in an envelope every week. How many times have you told yourself that? How many times have you told yourself that you're going to sit there and put X amount of money in an envelope, or in a spot, or in your safe, or whatever location or object you would put it in, and that's how you're gonna sock away and save up money? How many times have you told yourself that, started to do it, and then ended up using the money rather quickly, started to do it, and never actually, like you put that in, but then immediately the next day just used it anyways? That's not even really like started to do it and then saved a little. You just kind of, put money out of your wallet and then put it back in the next day. Or you say to yourself, I'm going to do this, and then you never actually even physically do it. How many times have we all done that? We've all done it. I'm just as guilty as anyone else when it comes to that. And that's what I'm saying when it comes to investing. It's almost like it can make it easier for you not to touch that money, right? Because if I was to go and put money in an envelope, I mean, it's right there. I can go and touch it whenever I want. I can go and grab it whenever I want. I can go and spend it immediately whenever I want. And that's what makes the problem when it comes to trying to save physical cash, on your own or through anything else. It's just like it becomes difficult for you as a human being to not touch it. It's yours. And if you're having a bad day and you're wanting that little pick me up to make your day a little bit better, you might end up making the decision, oh well, I'll go and pull a little bit out and I'm going to go and do this because it's going to make me feel good, right? And then boom, you've already started to defeat the purpose of why you did that, because you pulled out of it once. You're going to pull out of it again, and then it's going to end up disappearing. And so when it comes to investing in cryptocurrency stocks, anything else, it makes it harder for you to immediately just decide right after you do it to back out of your decision, right? If you put your money into an exchange, you can't say the next day, oh, well, you know what, actually, I want that money back, and then just, immediately pull it out and go and use it. Now, granted, we already have like credit cards, debit cards, to where you can immediately use your crypto account, right? And here's the thing with that, is that even though that is great and that is what's going to help crypto in the long run, as an individual, you should try to have the card, of course. The card is important because then it makes it even easier for you to fix those problems even faster, right? So definitely have the card, but don't use the card to the highest extent possible, right? That's just my opinion, at least for right now. Is don't use it like it's just a bank account, because then if you use it just like a bank account, then you're devaluing all your investments. And then when things do go down, then all of your investments go down, because if you're constantly putting money in all the time and you're not paying attention to what times you're doing it, then you're not really investing. It's just kind of like you're just using it as a different form of a bank account or a savings account, and that's not investing. Because the second that it has a dip and you try to go and make a purchase and it was a really bad dip, but as far as you're thinking, you bought all the way back when it was at X, amount. And so irregardless of the dip, you should always have money. But here's the thing, over time, with you buying and spending the crypto like that, you're devaluing the original coins that you had bought, right? Because every time that you sit there and you pull out and then you put back in, you're devaluing whatever it is that you originally had in there. Even if you're doing it fractionally, right? Like you're only pulling out like a part of your investment on that account, right? You're still doing it over time, especially if you're using it like a debit card or like a credit card. So it's really important to have that as more of like, that emergency card, and then just, keep it out of your wallet, keep it at home or whatever, right? And like keep that in your safe, because you know what? The likelihood that you're going to go and specifically grab the card to do it is less likely than if it's a big old wad of cash. A lot of the cases, you might even end up forgetting that you even had the card, and then you have a random thought about you having that card and where it is. But so just make sure that you don't use that card so heavily that you devalue your own investments. But back to the core subject of it all, it's the best way for you to invest and then help yourself out in the long run, because so long as you sit here and you focus on the markets, you focus on what your investment, what cryptos, what stocks, or what other investments, what the markets for those investments are doing, so long as you're paying attention to those things. And I know to some people it seems like, well, look, I don't have the time in the day to be sitting here and analyzing all these markets and all. I don't have time to do that. I'm a single father, single mother. I got 3 jobs. There's a lot of reasons as to why people feel like they don't have the time. But I promise you, you do have the time. I promise you that you can squeeze in, a little bit per day when you begin investing. You can do it. And the reason why I say that you can do that is because when you get home, even if you do work that that the three jobs. Even if you work three jobs, or you're a single mom or a single father or whatever have you, you have the time, because I know that when you go home there for a short, brief period of time, you're not doing anything that's necessarily productive, right? You're relaxing, you're watching TV or watching YouTube or whatever. You're doing something that isn't necessarily like achieving anything to what it is that your daily goals are, right? Of like all the things that you have to do. That's just something that you do to kind of wind down and relax to go to sleep so you can do it again. So in that time of when you're doing that, who says that you couldn't just look up you know, what's Dogecoin been up to the past week, read a couple articles. Okay, yeah, that was cool. Took out 5 minutes of your time to read those few articles, kind of gave yourself some insight, and then you went ahead and you hopped back on to watch your show or YouTube or whatever it was that you were doing. Um, you know, in this day and age, we're all glued to our phones. I mean, it's almost like it almost doesn't come out of people's hands. So, I mean, if you're always on your phone anyways, when you're out in public or riding on the bus or in a vehicle, um, or going to the restroom, because we all know that we do it. Right there's your time to try and learn new things, right? The more that you focus on progressing yourself as an individual, the quicker your goals will come to you. I know that it seems like, well, if it so long as I work really hard and I do this and this and this, like I'll get there. Yes, yeah, you'll get there. So long as you stay diligent, you work really hard, and you focus towards that goal. But just, yeah, a lot of the times you end up sacrificing a lot taking that route, because you don't focus on your life around you, and then you end up missing out on a lot because you're so focused on trying to get to that goal as quickly as possible, and the only way to do it is through this method. And you're putting yourself into a box to where you're forcing yourself to work harder than you need to, because as an individual, we're all smart enough to be able to learn more. We all have the capacity to broaden our intelligence. And so the more that you just learn about those little things, the more that you better yourself as an individual. That's how you get yourself ahead in life. It's not just looking down, grinding forward until you reach that goal. Because if you try to look in other avenues that are good, not like let's get rich quick or I'm going to be a millionaire tomorrow avenues. I'm talking about look at avenues as to how you can make small amounts of income over a certain period of time. And they're not sponsored, but a good way that you could easily start getting invested if you really are just against, doing any kind of investing, like you just really don't want to be involved with it. Here's something for you that you can use, that you would have to invest just a tiny portion, of the money you have. But after that, if you really just didn't want to do anything else and you wanted to leave it alone, in a way, you could say that, you could, this could be your form of investing. And what that is Brave. And Brave is it's a web browser just like Safari, Google Chrome. If for some reason someone out there is using whatever they're calling Microsoft Explorer now, um, you know, it's just like that. It's slightly different, right? And what it is um, in a way, it's like a decentralized web browser, right? It's kind of like a web browser with a VPN built into it, just to kind of keep things brief. But essentially, what it does is it protects you from trackers, that from the data trackers and things like that, that are tracking you whilst you're on the internet, whether it's on your phone, on your tablet, on your PC. It doesn't matter. It's on every website. practically. There's something that's going to be tracking to see, you know, it's trying to collect as much information to build a representation of you to try and advertise to you. And so some of you might not care about that. It doesn't really matter. But here's the thing: even if it doesn't matter, when it comes to Brave, it's almost like it's an illogical choice not to use it, right? And the reason why is so you go on here and they block all this stuff for you, right? All these advertisers can't do anything. So how does Brave make its money? Because even though, you know, it's just a web browser, I mean, there has to be, you know, there has to be servers and everything. There has to be an infrastructure around that in order for it to actually work, right? And so things have to be paid for in order for you to be able to, in order for it to exist. And so they have to make their money somehow. And so what they've done is they've partnered with many different types of advertisers like eToro, uh, you know, Crypto.com, BitPay. There's a lot of different advertisers, and not just crypto advertisers, but just general advertisers, right? And and so what they do is they've partnered with them, and so the advertisers paid them X amount of dollars, whatever it is, right, to advertise to the users of the web browser. And so what they do is they say, all right, well, this is how it's going to work with us. You're going to get to advertise with us, and we're going to have it to where it's going to pop up directly on whatever it is, whatever device it is that they're using. So if you are using a phone, you know, it pops up like a notification that you can swipe away or whatever. And the same goes for, like, you know, closing out that little small notification box that you get in Windows when you're on your computer. It's just like that. And so that's what we're gonna do for your advertisements, and we're gonna give you the region that that user lives in. So all you are is user number 367, we'll say, and you live in the Southern California region, and you viewed their ad, but you didn't click on their ad, right? And that's all the information that they get, essentially, just to be to simplify it. And so what they do in turn is they say, okay, well, you know, it's all well and good that we're making all this money from all these advertisers, but maybe we should be giving it back to the people that actually have to look at the ads. And so that's how we ended up with BAT, which is Basic Attention Token. And essentially what it is it's a token to where they reward you with this token, and this token is a reward for, you know, witnessing the ad, right? So the ad pops up onto your phone as a notification, or it pops up onto your computer or tablet, and you swipe it away or whatever, and you're rewarded for letting that happen, for you viewing it. And then obviously it's up to you. If it's something that interests you and you want to click on it, then click on it and go and check it out. But you know, so they reward you, and we'll say, just to keep things simple, they give you 0.1 bat for every ad view, right? As an example. It's not that number, I'm just giving it as an example, but they give you 0.1 bat for every ad view. So after you view 10 ads, you would have one whole bat for this example, right? And so then that continues over the course of the month, and at the end of the month you have like $5 worth of bat, right? Because let's just say that you had 5 tokens because you saw, what would that be? Like 50 ads or something. I don't know. At either rate, you know, you viewed a certain amount of ads in that month, and so you got $5. And so then you take that $5 and you attach it to your Uphold account. And Uphold is essentially another exchange that is partnered with Brave, so that way you can actually, you know, you actually interact with your crypto rather than it just being numbers on a screen as a reward, but it doesn't have any kind of bearing to it. It has no meaning. It's just numbers. But then, like, you know, every month it gets put into your crypto wallet in your Uphold account, and then you can interact with it. You can trade it for other cryptos, sell it, buy more. You know, you can do whatever you want. And so if it's somebody, if people aren't, if they're not interested in investing, or there's just something that they just don't care for, or whatever the case might be, if you at least do this, I can guarantee by the end of the year, whenever you go and you look at that account that shows the basic attention token, and it has however many tokens that it has in it, and you have however many dollars in it, and you're going to be like, wow, I can't believe that. And this is just going to be an example, right? Let's say that you didn't do anything. I can't believe that I have $250 in basic attention token, and I never really invest. I threw in the $25 because that's kind of what it would be right now. I threw in the $25 right at the beginning to have 25 back because I think you have to have 25 bat in order to you know, have rewards. The numbers might change based on the price. I'm not 100% sure because I imagine if like somehow BAT ended up going to like $100 a token or something, don't think that people would still be required to get 25 of them in order to get in. That would not be very fair. But so that person can then look back and be like, wow, I can't believe that I have $250 in basic attention token and I really didn't do anything to achieve it. All I did was download the web browser and I started using that. And the thing about it is that you can sync it immediately, and then it will basically, it'll transfer all the data about like, your logins and stuff. So that way it's really painless, right? And so then it's just the best way to go about, investing if you really just don't even want to invest, because then you can look at it like, hey, I threw away that $25 or whatever it is back then, and now I got like $250, so I guess it really definitely wasn't a waste. So that's really nice. It's kind of like, let's just say if you look on it, look at your basic, if you get in right now, if you download Brave and you got in right now, if you chose to do that, and you just left it alone and just used the web browser on your devices that you commonly use, and then on Christmas, on December 25th, go look at the total. Like, don't look at it at all up until that point, and then look at the total, and then it can be your little Christmas gift to yourself for using your own devices. If you can tell me of a web browser that we've commonly used before now that paid you to use it. So that doesn't mean any of the new web browsers. I'm talking about web browsers that we've commonly used up before crypto was a very big thing. So I'm talking about like, Chrome, Safari, Firefox, Mozilla, because that still actually exists. None of them did that. But so that's just kind of my point when it comes to investing on that. In other news, Dogecoin has been doing phenomenal today. It has been absolutely exploding over the past 24 hours. I mean, we have really seen some huge jumps over here in comparison to like where it was at, right? Like, here was a really big one, and then it came back out, and then it went all the way up to 7 cents, and then it came back down, right? And there's a reason for it, right? There's a reason why, we're starting to see this happening again, and it's not because it's going to end up being the next pump and dump or anything like that. It's because it's getting more traction. People are understanding it. I mean, look, let's see, what is that? 2 o'clock today? 2 o'clock today, the low is 6.1. If we go to the low 2 days ago, the low was 5.5, right? That was the low, like approximately, a few days, back over here on the 3rd. That was its lowest that it's been over the course of, let's say a week. And so we've just been seeing it really begin to ramp up, and as it begins to get closer to 7, and as it begins to start to try and reach for 8, you're going to see like how we're seeing this red candle right now. You're going to be seeing a lot of that. So I would expect that between 6.5 cents to 8.5 cents, you're going to be seeing a lot of volatility. And the reason why I say that is because back when we were having the Super Bowl, a lot of people were getting in right then during the Super Bowl. And I mean, if you look at where we were at during those couple of weeks, being between 7 and 9 cents, and it just, everyone is just ecstatic. There's a lot of people that were buying in at that time. And I mean, you think about all the people that, they weren't in before that number, and then they got in at like 7, 8, 9 cents, because somebody had to buy it at 9 cents in order for it to even, you know what I'm saying? Like somebody had to buy that number in order for us to get there. So, it's what's gonna happen, and so you're gonna see this extreme volatility over the next few cents. And after that, your guess will be as good as mine as to where we'll go after that, because it will all just depend. But I mean, just in the span of me talking, just starting my conversation about Dogecoin, we went from 6.7 down to 6.5, right? And so I mean, you can see this big red line right here, right? And if I zoom in it seems like we lost all the gains that we had, just like at the beginning of the hour, right? Seems like everything that we just got up to, we just lost, right? But that's what I'm saying, is that you've got to focus on these investments. You've got to pay attention to the markets. You've got to pay attention to what it's doing. Another chart that you can look at is the depth chart, right? So this depth chart is currently zoomed all the way out, right? And so this number up here, this is for when it's over here at 25 cents. So don't even worry about what you're seeing right now. We're going to be talking about this right here. I'll even bring it out a little bit. That way you can kind of see, like, going closer to 7 cents what I'm talking about. So if we look over here, you can see that up to about 6.7, right before 6.8, there's a lot more support. There's a lot more buying support right up to that point, but then right after it goes over 6.8, look what happens. It starts to even out, right? And so what that means is that the buying orders and the selling orders are becoming more even. And so what you need to understand is that whichever is more dominant is what is going to lead the direction for the coin, right? So whenever you see it hit above 6.8, you're gonna see it drop right back down below 6.8, and you're gonna see it when it does, it's gonna try and hit probably around 6.5 again, right? And so, like, that's where it's gonna immediately start trying to drop to, just like how we saw that large candle that we saw right here. That's what you'll end up seeing, right? And so you're gonna see that happen. And so that's actually kind of what you need to focus on more so than anything, is you need to focus on your depth chart. Your depth chart is going to give you a better idea of what's going to be coming up in the possible momentary future, right? So you can see that the likelihood of it falling, below 6 is much lower than the likelihood of it going above 7, right? So it's more likely right now to go above 7 cents than it is to go below 6 cents in this moment from what the chart is showing. That's what you'll see. So based on that information, that's how you should make your decisions. You're like, all right, so we just had this big sell-off. Does that mean that I should sell as well? Or does that mean that I should buy? Then you determine, okay, well, where did I buy in at? Did I buy in already at a higher number, or did I buy in at a lower number? If you bought in at a higher number, then you start making the decision on whether or not you want to buy, because, I mean, it definitely doesn't hurt to lower your average, right? And what I mean by lower your average is, uh, your average is the total, the number of your coin. It's the average number of the coins that you have, right? So when you're making like multiple investments within the same crypto, so initially you threw in $10, and then you threw in 25, and then you threw in 60. Like you didn't just throw in a whole $100 bill, right? Because if you do that, then that means your average is whatever you bought that lump at, right? So that's not necessarily an average right then, because you didn't that's just what you bought, right? So if you bought at 6.5 and you bought $100 at 6.5, your average is 6.5, because there's no other varying number. Then let's say it drops down to 5.5, right? And then you put in another $100, all right? So now your average goes from 6.5, which was your original of the $100 investment, and then your next $100 investment you bought in at 5.5. And so then that means that your average cost the average cost for now your $200 investment is going to be 6, right? So then that's how you determine. So if your average cost is 7 cents per Doge, definitely doesn't hurt to buy some below that, because you're only helping lower your average. The lower your average is, that means the higher your gains are once it goes above that average. Because if you're the parts of your investments that are making your average higher, those are the investments that you currently, like, we'll say you have the losses on. Those are getting countered by the investments that you made when you bought at the lower part of making the average, right? So when you bought in at 5.5, the gains from it hitting 6 combats the losses that you had from when you bought at 6.5. And so those numbers will dictate how you should make your investments. And that's why I'm saying, like, if your average is at a high average and it's already lower, let's just say with XRP, for instance, right? Let's say you bought in at $1, right? And then let's say that XRP is sitting at 50 cents, like how it was before here recently. Pretty much irregardless of whether you buy in the dip or at a peak, if it's down at the 50-cent mark, I mean, and your average is at $1, you're going to be doing good irregardless. But it's when your average and the current are closer that you definitely want to start paying more attention. And it's just like when it comes to your investments, the more you pull out and then put back in, the more your original investment is diluted. So you really want to pay attention to that as well. If you're pulling out more than you're putting in, then that means that you're diluting your initial investment that you made to begin with faster. And so if your initial investment was at a substantially lower amount than what the current rate is, then that means that you're getting away from that number. And then when that rate dips down below what your new average is, then you're going to start seeing that hurt. And then if you're not paying attention to all that, you're not going to understand why that's happening. You're not going to understand, well, I bought in at XRP at 50 cents. Well, if you're taking it out nonstop and putting it into other stuff and then just putting a little bit in from something else, well, then you've diluted that original number, and now you're closer to, say, you've done it so much now that your average is 95 cents and you didn't even realize it, right? That's how little you had of the 50-cent initial investment. And so those are the things that you want to keep in mind when you're making investments, irregardless of what those investments are, whether they're cryptos or if they're stocks, real estate. Now we have NFTs, right? So those are all the things that you want to pay attention to when you're investing. And so, just like I was saying earlier, you see, like, we hit 6.7, right, when we first started talking about it, and look, we're already starting to try and go back down towards 6.3. There's a reason for that, right? It's because of what's going on in the depth chart. As you're seeing right now, the stair steps are a lot higher for the sell orders than they are for the buy orders. And even though this says for 7 cents right here, and this says for like 5.7 right here, what it's representing is just your buy to sell ratio, right? And so the reason why it's really close right here is because that's where all of the main purchases are currently being made. But these are like puts, right? All the stuff that you see up here, this is where people are having like stop losses, puts, shorts, things like that. So all of that is up here in these higher steps, and that's why I'm saying like when it comes to Dogecoin or to any of the other ones, you're gonna want to pay attention to those kind of things because that's what's actually determining the price, not what anyone says, not what everyone's excited about. It's about what's actually happening within the depth chart. So if somebody influential tweets about Dogecoin and the price starts to go up, the price is going up because of that person's influence, right? Those people are buying. But it still comes down to the fact that the buy orders are higher than the sell orders. You're having a higher buy ratio to sell ratio, and then that's what's causing that number, right? And so that's what it is that I'm talking about. So irregardless of influencers or anyone talking about it that's trying to pump it up or make it go away or whichever, depending on those people's opinions, at the end of the day, all you need to do is pay attention to your investment and how you've been doing it. And if you've been successful at it, then that means that you should pay attention to what it is that you're doing, because if what you're doing has been successful and it's still working even with whatever anyone else is saying, that doesn't mean change what it is that you're doing because it's working. That doesn't mean change it because everyone else is freaking out. If you know what's going on and you're watching the trends on your investments and you see it doing something that other people would generally find to be unexpected, that's how you get ahead. Because everyone's like, oh, no, 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 I got to get out right now. I just bought in at 6.7 and it's already at 6.5. I've already lost like almost half a cent, you know, per coin. I just bought like 1,000 of them. Oh no. Oh, you're just like, yeah, but based on what the depth chart says, it's not like it's gonna really hit XYZ, and then once it does, it's just gonna bounce right back up. If the depth chart, if buying and selling orders are staying how they are within your depth chart, because the more that you get involved with your investments, the more you're gonna understand. So, irregardless of what happens with Dogecoin today, wow, it's just so funny. I mean, that's what, like an hour's worth of gains almost lost. But anyways, um, you know, irregardless, if you see it go back down to the 5 cent mark, it's pretty obvious at this point that Doge isn't going to be going anywhere anytime soon, right? It's not going to be going anywhere anytime soon for any reason. Not without something coming out, some kind of outside influence to make that happen. And you're going to see it happen before it hits zero, everyone, okay? You're going to see it happen before, you know, you lose every penny that you had in it. And the reason why I say that is because if you're properly investing and you're keeping up with your own stuff, even if something cataclysmic happens, you're still going to be able to know. Especially like, for instance, when it comes to Uphold, all the stuff that I'm invested in, the Uphold will tell me if it drops down like 5% within the day. It'll say, hey, Doge dropped down 5%. Just to let me know, hey, something's happening. You might want to go and look at it, just in the event that I'm not even thinking about it, right? Because I'm busy working or something, so I don't really have time to be involving myself with any kind of media. And it's just things like that you just got to make sure that you're paying attention. So don't always listen to everything that everyone says, because at the end of the day, your judgment will be the best judgment if you're making the proper research and you're doing your due diligence on your end to try and make sure that those investments are happening. But with that, everyone, it's been great. We'll see you again here tomorrow. Everyone have a good one, and we'll see you later.